Porridge, the iconic British sitcom that ran from 1974 to 1977, became a staple of classic television, known for its sharp wit, memorable characters, and timeless humor. As we reach the 51st anniversary of its debut, it's time to reflect on what became of the beloved cast members. From the rise of stars like Ronnie Barker and Richard Beckinsale to the challenges and triumphs that followed their time in the show, this article takes a deep dive into the lives of the Porridge cast. Join us as we explore where they are now in 2025, revealing the untold stories behind the scenes of this cherished sitcom. Ronnie Barker, who famously portrayed the sharp-witted and resourceful Norman Stanley Fletcher in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, began the role at the age of 45. Fletcher's charm and intelligence helped him navigate the harsh realities of prison life, earning him the admiration of both his fellow inmates and viewers alike. However, Ronnie Barker's personal life was far less smooth. His marriage to Susan Barker in 1957 produced 2 children but eventually fell apart, largely due to the pressures of his demanding career and their growing emotional distance. Despite his success and the joy he brought to millions with his comedy, Barker often struggled with feelings of loneliness and depression. The emotional toll of his personal life and health problems, including heart issues, overshadowed his later years. Barker passed away on October 3, 2005, at the age of 76 from heart failure, leaving behind a legacy of beloved characters, yet his passing was marked by a sense of sorrow, as the man who made the world laugh had silently endured a lifetime of inner pain. Sam Kelly, who portrayed Warren in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, at the age of 31, was beloved for his role as a kind-hearted, albeit dim-witted, inmate. Kelly's portrayal of Warren was endearing, yet his real life told a much darker story. His career, which included many other TV roles, was often overshadowed by his personal struggles, particularly his battle with alcohol. His drinking led to turbulent relationships and a difficult personal life. Kelly was married, but his marriage suffered under the weight of his addiction, and his relationship with his children became strained over the years. Later in life, he was diagnosed with cancer, and despite his enduring strength, the disease took his life on June 14, 2014, at the age of 70. His death was a painful end to a career that had brought much laughter but also highlighted the personal suffering he had endured in silence for many years. Brian Wilde, who brought the well-meaning but often naive Mr. Barrowclough to life in Porridge, began his role at 47. Barrowclough's kindness and sympathy towards the prisoners contrasted sharply with his tough job as a prison officer, and Wilde's portrayal made him a standout character on the show. However, Wilde's personal life was marked by a series of struggles. He married actress Leslie Dudley in 1951, and the couple had 3 children, but their marriage was deeply affected by Dudley's ongoing mental health battles. The marriage ended in divorce, and Wilde was left to cope with the emotional fallout, feeling the weight of both his personal and professional responsibilities. Despite a successful career, Wilde's later years were overshadowed by feelings of isolation and sorrow, as he grew more distant from the public eye. Tragically, on March 20, 2008, he passed away at the age of 80 after suffering a fall, marking the end of a life that had given so much to his craft but was equally shaped by personal hardship and loss. Richard Beckinsale played Lenny Godbeer in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, at the age of 27, bringing to life a character who was young, naive, and full of hope despite being behind bars. Godbeer's moral compass was a stark contrast to the harsh realities of prison life. Beckinsale's career was rapidly rising, with promise of much more to come, but his personal life was far from as perfect as his on-screen portrayal. He married twice, first to actress Margaret Bradley and then to Judy Lowe, but both marriages were troubled. Beckinsale had a daughter, actress Kate Beckinsale, with Judy Lowe, but his relationship with his family and those closest to him was strained. Tragically, Beckinsale passed away from a heart attack on March 19, 1979, at just 31 years old, caused by coronary artery disease. His sudden death cut short a bright career and left his loved ones devastated, with many wondering what heights he might have reached if not for the cruel and untimely fate that stole him from them. Fulton McKay, who portrayed the rigid and authoritative Mr. McKay in Porridge, began his role at the age of 52. His portrayal of McKay as a strict, by-the-book prison officer was memorable, capturing the tension between his firm sense of duty and the chaos around him. However, McKay's personal life was filled with struggles. His 2 marriages ended in divorce, and his relationships were marked by unhappiness and emotional strain. Despite his professional success and the recognition he received, McKay struggled to find fulfillment in his personal life. His health began to decline in the 1980s, and he was diagnosed with stomach cancer, which took a heavy toll on him physically and emotionally. McKay's battle with cancer was long and painful, and despite undergoing treatment, he passed away on June 6, 1987, at the age of 64. His death from cancer came as a tragic end to a life that had seen both the heights of professional achievement and the depths of personal despair. Michael Barrington, who portrayed Governor Venables in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, at the age of 50, played a well-meaning yet incompetent character, often oblivious to the harsh realities of prison life. While his performance was memorable, Barrington's personal life was far from smooth. His marriage ended in a bitter divorce, and he found himself dealing with deep emotional pain and loneliness. Although he had a respectable career, he often felt overshadowed by the successes of others and struggled with feelings of inadequacy. His health declined as he grew older, with depression becoming a constant companion in his later years. Barrington passed away on June 5, 1988, at the age of 63 from a heart attack. His death, while not entirely unexpected, marked the end of a life filled with unfulfilled potential, personal heartache, and emotional struggles. Brian Glover, who played Heslop in Porridge from 1974 to 1977, was 40 years old when he first portrayed the character, a strong yet somewhat dim-witted inmate known for his loyalty to his fellow prisoners. Heslop's physical strength and simple nature often brought humor to the show, but Glover's personal life was far from as simple. His acting career, which began in theater, was often overshadowed by personal struggles, particularly in his marriage to Anne, which faced numerous emotional challenges. The couple had 2 children, but their relationship became strained under the weight of Glover's rising fame. The final blow came when Glover was diagnosed with a brain tumor, a condition that would rob him of his life far too soon. He continued to act even as his health worsened, but the toll of his illness took a heavy emotional and physical toll. Brian Glover passed away on July 24, 1997, at the age of 63, after a painful battle with the disease. Peter Vaughan, who portrayed the infamous Harry Grout in Porridge, was 52 when he began his role as the scheming, powerful prisoner. Grout was feared by both prisoners and guards alike, a master manipulator who thrived in the chaos of the prison. Vaughan's own life, however, was filled with darker struggles. Though he achieved great success in his career, Vaughan's personal life was a different story. He suffered through 2 failed marriages and was devastated by the tragic death of his daughter in a car accident, a loss that haunted him for the rest of his life. Despite his immense talent, Vaughan often felt isolated and withdrawn, especially in his later years when his health began to fail. He battled various illnesses as he grew older, yet continued to work when possible, always bringing depth to his roles. Peter Vaughan passed away on December 6, 2016, at the age of 93, leaving behind a legacy of iconic performances but also a personal history marked by grief and solitude. Patricia Brake, who portrayed Ingrid Fletcher in Porridge, began her role in 1974 at the age of 32. Ingrid was a beacon of warmth and compassion in the harsh world of prison, offering love and support to her father, Norman Stanley Fletcher. Off-screen, Brake's life was filled with heartache. Her first marriage to actor Peter Vaughan was fraught with emotional distance, and despite their years together, it ended in separation. Her second marriage also crumbled, leaving Brake without the family stability she portrayed so lovingly on screen. She never had children, which added to her deep sense of loneliness, especially in her later years. Brake's health took a significant decline after she was diagnosed with cancer, and she endured a long, painful battle with the illness. She passed away on May 28, 2022, at the age of 79, her death a somber end to a life of both professional accomplishments and personal loss, leaving behind a legacy of memorable roles but a life marked by personal tragedy. Ronald Lacey, who portrayed the scheming and untrustworthy Harris in Porridge, was 42 when he began his role. Harris was always involved in underhanded activities within the prison, a character trait Lacey seemed to mirror in his own troubled personal life. Lacey's career was filled with both triumphs and disappointments, but his personal life was far less stable. He endured a difficult marriage that eventually ended in divorce, and his world shattered when his only son tragically died in a car accident. The grief from this loss led Lacey into a downward spiral of alcoholism, which ultimately caused his health to deteriorate. Lacey passed away from liver failure at the age of 55 on May 15, 1991. His personal tragedies, particularly the death of his son, cast a dark shadow over his career, and his death marked the end of a life plagued by sadness and loss. Maurice Denham, who played Raleigh in Porridge, began his role in 1974 at the age of 65. Denham's character, a dignified and aloof presence in the prison, was a stark contrast to his personal life. Despite a long and varied career, he struggled with industry neglect in his later years, often feeling sidelined in favor of younger talent. His personal life mirrored the sense of isolation he felt in his professional life. His marriage, which had lasted many decades, slowly deteriorated as the years passed, and Denham found himself without the close family bonds he might have hoped for. The lack of children to carry on his name added to his sense of solitude. In his final years, Denham's health began to fail, and he passed away on July 24, 2002, at the age of 92 from natural causes. His death was a quiet end to a man whose talent was often overlooked, and his passing left a gap in the entertainment industry that few would notice. Eric Dodson, who portrayed the strict and formidable Mr. Banyard in Porridge, began his role in 1974 at the age of 54. Dodson's portrayal of a stern prison officer contrasted sharply with the vulnerability he faced in his own life. His first marriage ended tragically, leaving him to raise his daughter on his own, an emotional burden he carried quietly. His second marriage, though long, was fraught with unresolved issues and emotional strain, leaving him with a fractured sense of family. Dodson's career remained steady, but his personal life was marked by heartache, and he struggled with a sense of emotional isolation that deepened in his later years. As his health began to decline, Dodson found himself unable to escape the sadness that had long followed him. He passed away on January 13, 2000, at the age of 70, after a long battle with illness. Dudley Sutton, who played the unpredictable and often dangerous Reg Irwin in Porridge, took on the role at 43, becoming known for his volatile nature that added tension and unpredictability to the prison setting. Sutton's portrayal of Reg was one of instability, as his character could easily shift from comic absurdity to moments of raw aggression. In contrast to the chaotic energy he brought to his role, Sutton's personal life was far from fulfilling. He married once, but the relationship was fraught with emotional distance, and they eventually separated. Sutton struggled with depression and loneliness, and though he continued to work in television, he never quite found the contentment he sought. His career never fully reached the heights that many had expected, and he was left to confront his internal battles largely on his own. In his later years, Sutton faced a lengthy battle with cancer, a disease that he fought quietly, away from the public eye. He passed away on September 15, 2018, at the age of 85. Peter Jeffrey, who portrayed the stern and imposing Mr. Wainwright in Porridge from 1974 to 1977, began his role at the age of 45. As a prison officer, Mr. Wainwright exuded authority, often confronting the inmates' antics with frustration and an unwavering sense of duty. While Jeffrey's professional career was marked by steady work in television, his personal life was far more tragic. He married once, but the relationship was brief and filled with emotional strain, ultimately ending in divorce. He had no children, leaving him to face the challenges of aging alone. Behind the tough persona he displayed on screen, Geoffrey struggled with loneliness and isolation, his personal demons remaining largely hidden from the public eye. In his later years, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, a cruel and relentless disease that would take his life. He passed away on December 25, 1999, at the age of 70, his final days marked by a heartbreaking sense of solitude and unfulfilled dreams. Alun Armstrong, who played the eccentric and oddball Spraggan in Porridge, began the role at 31, bringing a unique, often absurd charm to the series. His character, with his quirky behavior and offbeat perspective on prison life, provided comic relief to the show, and Armstrong quickly became a fan favorite. However, Armstrong's real life was far less lighthearted. His marriage, which had started with hope, ended in separation, and the emotional toll of the breakdown affected him deeply. He found it difficult to connect with his children, and the pressures of balancing his career and personal life led to years of frustration and regret. As his career slowed in later years, Armstrong faced the reality of a life not as fulfilling as the roles he had played. At 78 years old in 2025, Armstrong's health has begun to deteriorate, and he lives in relative seclusion, reflecting on his life and the lost opportunities that linger in his mind. Cyril Shaps, who brought to life the quirky, nervous jackdaw in Porridge, was 51 when he began playing the character. Known for his ability to infuse humor into his roles, Shaps's life, unfortunately, mirrored the sadness often hidden behind his on-screen antics. His career, though successful, was overshadowed by personal heartache. His first marriage ended in a painful divorce, and despite his success in acting, he found himself increasingly isolated as the years went by. Shaps had no children to care for him, and his personal life became a series of lonely years punctuated by health issues. While he continued to work in television, the joy of acting seemed to fade as his life became more consumed with solitude and regret. By the time of his death on January 1, 2003, at the age of 79, Shaps was largely forgotten by the public. David Daker, who played the tough and scheming Jarvis in Porridge from 1974 to 1977, was 39 when he took on the role. Jarvis was a sharp-witted, no-nonsense inmate always looking for ways to outsmart the prison authorities, making Daker's performance both memorable and integral to the show's charm. However, Daker's personal life was far from smooth. His marriage to Linda ended in divorce after 15 years, largely due to the strain of his busy career and long absences. They had a son, Mark, who grew increasingly distant from his father, adding further bitterness to Daker's already troubled emotional state. Following the divorce, his career faltered, and Daker faced significant financial difficulties. By the 1990s, he had become somewhat of a recluse, unable to recapture the success of his earlier years. Now 89, Daker lives in a modest flat in London, often reflecting on a life filled with personal and professional highs followed by painful lows. John Bennett, who portrayed the stern and professional medical officer in Porridge, was 46 when he began his role in 1974. His character was a dutiful and somewhat aloof figure, responsible for maintaining the health of the inmates, and Bennett brought a depth of seriousness to the role. Despite his success on screen, Bennett's personal life was a roller coaster. His marriage to Sarah fell apart in 1989 after years of tension, and they had 2 children, Emma and Michael, who grew apart from their father as the years went on. The strain of balancing his career and family life, combined with his increasing isolation, led Bennett into a deep depression. After Porridge, his career suffered as he struggled to find consistent work, and his health began to decline. His loneliness grew, and his final years were spent largely out of the public eye. Bennett passed away on April 11, 2005, at the age of 76, quietly and alone. Philip Madoc, who portrayed the sly and calculating Williams in Porridge from 1974 to 1977, was 40 years old when he first took on the role. His character, an inmate known for his manipulative and often unscrupulous behavior, was a stark contrast to Madoc's own life. Though his career in television and film was filled with notable roles, including appearances in Doctor Who and The Avengers, his personal life was far more turbulent. Madoc's marriage to his wife ended in a bitter divorce, and he was left estranged from both her and their 2 children. The years that followed were filled with deep loneliness, as his personal struggles, combined with his growing health issues, left him grappling with his own demons. His final years were marked by a battle with cancer, a disease that slowly consumed him. Madoc passed away on March 5, 2012, at the age of 77. Graham Crowden, who brought the eccentric and quirky prison doctor to life in Porridge, was 52 when he first appeared in 1974. His portrayal of the oddball doctor provided much-needed comic relief to the otherwise serious prison setting, with his strange medical methods and offbeat personality. However, Crowden's off-screen life was anything but comedic. His marriage to actress Margaret Wallace ended in divorce in 1980, and their already difficult relationship was made even harder by the tragic death of their young daughter, Annabelle, who succumbed to a rare illness. This devastating loss left Crowden emotionally shattered, and his already struggling marriage could not withstand the weight of such grief. His career, once promising, began to suffer as he faced both physical and emotional health problems. Crowden's later years were marked by a decline in roles, and he battled with cancer for several years before passing away on October 19, 2010, at the age of 87. Robert Gillespie, who played the well-meaning but often bumbling vicar in Porridge, began his role at 45, bringing warmth and naivety to the show with his earnest but misguided attempts to offer spiritual guidance. His character's constant missteps provided comedic moments, but in real life, Gillespie's own journey was marked by personal turmoil. He married once, but the relationship was fraught with difficulties, leading to a painful divorce. Despite having 2 children, the emotional distance between him and his family only deepened over the years. Professionally, while Gillespie found steady work, he was often relegated to roles that didn't fully showcase his talent, leaving him feeling unfulfilled. The loneliness of his private life became more pronounced as he grew older. At 92 in 2025, Gillespie lives in quiet seclusion, his career a fading memory, overshadowed by the lasting sadness of a fractured family and an unremarkable professional legacy. Carol Hawkins, who played the clever and resourceful Sandra in Porridge, began her role at 25, bringing wit and complexity to a character who often found herself at the center of intricate prison schemes. While her on-screen persona thrived on cleverness and charm, Hawkins' personal life was riddled with pain. She married young and had 2 children, but her marriage was deeply troubled, marked by emotional neglect and eventually a painful divorce. Despite her success in the acting world, Hawkins found herself unable to reconcile her professional and personal life. Her relationships with her children became strained, and the emotional weight of her broken marriage cast a shadow over her happiness. Now 75 in 2025, Hawkins lives quietly, isolated and reflecting on a career that never fully healed the deep wounds from her personal life, where the struggle for happiness was a constant and never fully realized. Ralph Watson, who played the tough and scheming landlord in Porridge, was 38 when he first took on the role in 1974. His character was no-nonsense and deeply involved in various schemes, often scheming against the prison authorities. Off-screen, however, Watson's life was fraught with difficulties. He married Carol in the early 1970s, and they had 2 children, Simon and Lily, but their marriage suffered due to mounting financial pressures and Watson's growing battle with alcoholism. His personal demons deeply affected his professional life, and his career, which had started with promise, began to falter as he struggled with addiction and failed to secure significant roles. Watson's marriage ultimately ended in divorce, and his financial troubles continued to grow, leading him into a period of isolation and despair. He passed away on June 20, 2021 at the age of 85. Jane Wenham, who played the compassionate Mrs. Jameson in Porridge, was 47 when she began her role in 1974. Mrs. Jameson was the empathetic voice of reason in the otherwise tough and unforgiving prison, offering guidance and understanding to the inmates. Unfortunately, Wenham's own life was filled with personal turmoil. Her first marriage to actor William ended in divorce after years of infidelity and emotional abuse, leaving her to raise their son, Thomas, largely on her own. Wenham later remarried Richard, but that relationship also deteriorated due to his substance abuse problems, and they eventually separated. These failures in her personal life took a heavy toll on Wenham, leaving her emotionally drained and struggling to find fulfillment. While her portrayal of Mrs. Jameson gained her recognition, her career never advanced beyond the role, and she found it difficult to find other significant work. Wenham passed away on November 15, 2018, at the age of 90. Tony Osoba, who played McLaren in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, at the age of 27, brought to life a character marked by toughness and loyalty. McLaren's resilience and strong sense of camaraderie in prison made him a memorable part of the show. However, Osoba's personal life was much more troubled. Despite a solid career, Osoba often found himself overshadowed by his co-stars, leaving him feeling unappreciated. His marriage ended in divorce, and he struggled with the emotional toll of a public life that didn't align with his private struggles. While he later found solace in a quieter, more private existence, the emotional scars of his past lingered. Now 77 years old in 2025, Osoba's life continues, though it remains marked by both the successes and challenges that came with his career and personal life. He is a man who, despite public recognition, still carries the weight of battles fought behind closed doors. Christopher Biggins, who played Lukewarm on Porridge, 1974 to 1977, at the age of 26, brought a sense of kindness and vulnerability to the character. However, behind the warm exterior, Biggins faced a series of personal and emotional challenges. His relationships were often unstable, with infidelity and heartbreak following him throughout his life. Despite his public persona as a cheerful and friendly figure, he struggled with deep feelings of loneliness and a longing for connection. His career, although successful, did little to alleviate the emotional turmoil that overshadowed his personal life. Biggins' family life was equally complicated, marked by strained relationships and a sense of alienation from those closest to him. In 2025, at 76 years old, Biggins is still alive but continues to reflect on a life that has been a mix of public success and private sorrow. His personal struggles, though less visible today, remain a defining feature of his journey. David Jason, who played Blanco in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, at 34, portrayed a crafty and resourceful character constantly scheming to better his situation. However, Jason's own life mirrored the complexities of his on-screen persona. While his career flourished, with numerous iconic roles, his personal life was fraught with struggles. His marriage ended in separation, and he faced profound loneliness and isolation. As he grew older, his mental health became a growing concern, battling depression and a sense of disillusionment with the fame and success he had achieved. Though he found moments of joy, they were often fleeting. As of 2025, David Jason, now 84, remains alive but continues to grapple with the effects of aging, health challenges, and the weight of his past struggles. His life story is a bittersweet reminder of the complexity behind fame and success. Philip Jackson, who portrayed the calm and laid-back Melvin Dillon Bottomley in Porridge, was just 26 when he began the role. Dillon's easygoing demeanor hit a man who, in reality, faced turmoil in his personal life. Jackson's first marriage ended in divorce, and despite having 2 children, he was unable to maintain a stable home life. The emotional toll of his failed relationships and personal struggles followed him throughout his life. His second marriage, much like the first, faltered, leaving him alone once again. Now 76, Jackson lives a quiet life, his career still intact but overshadowed by personal loss. Though he remains active in the industry, the joy of acting has been replaced by the heavy burden of regret and the isolation brought on by years of family dysfunction. His life, though filled with success, remains marked by the tragedy of what could have been. Who's your favorite character from Porridge? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.